When it was evening, he came with the 12. And when they had taken their places and were eating, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." They began to be distressed and say to him one after another, "Surely not I." And he said to them, "It is one of the 12, one who is dipping bread into the bowl with me. For the Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born." While they were eating, he took a loaf of bread, and after blessing it, he broke it. He gave it to them, and he said, "Take, this is my body." Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them. And all of them drank from it. He said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly I tell you, I will never again drink of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God." Thus ends the reading of the word. I don't know about you, but we had a family dinner tradition in my house every Sunday. Weekday family dinners were difficult because my dad worked really long hours and couldn't get home in time to eat with us kids. So the kids ate together, and then my parents ate together. But on Sunday, we had our sit-down dinner in the dining room with linen napkins, the best china, and proper table manners. For years, my mother hosted the whole family for Thanksgiving with 4 grandparents and often some aunts and uncles thrown in. We all sat around the fully extended dining room table to enjoy the holiday meal together. Now, if you hosted such holiday dinners over the years, which I'm sure many of you did, I will bet the number of people at the table swelled as your children's children came to eat, and their spouses were then added to the feast table. There are many of you who today prepare Thanksgiving for dozens of people, both family and close friends. So you can probably picture this evening at the Passover meal with Jesus and the disciples being much like one of those traditional family Thanksgivings we all know and love. Remembering that Thanksgiving isn't supposed to be so much about the food, that it is meant to be that day when we give thanks to God for the good harvest and that very special winter when the Wampanoag Indians saved those English colonists from starvation in the settled territory they called New England. We even try to eat what we believe they ate on that first Thanksgiving. Another thing about holiday tables in my home, it was understood that all table conversation would be civil. Good manners were a top priority, and all observed proper etiquette, knowing that discourtesy and arguments at the table constituted bad manners. No fighting or pouting or turning one's nose up at the food was allowed. Peace was expected to reign because displays of temper and flaring emotions would ruin the meal and no doubt end it prematurely. In Jesus' day, people looked forward to the Passover celebration because it was a glad event. Mark's text reports that Jesus came with the 12 to the feast, which they probably celebrated annually. They had taken their places at the table, and they were eating, which means they had already asked those ritual questions. Why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights we eat leavened or unleavened bread, but on this night, why only unleavened bread? On all other nights we eat herbs of any kind. On this night, why do we eat only bitter herbs? On all other nights we eat our meals in any manner, but on this night, why do we sit around the table together in a reclining position? And 2, after answering the questions, then the ritual blessings were spoken, recalling God's wondrous deeds of power, rescuing the Israelites from their 400 years of captivity as slaves in Egypt, certainly a Thanksgiving feast. But this particular Passover feast was not to continue like all those they had celebrated in the past. Although the celebrations still recalled the elements of the old story of sacrifice and redemption, when the Israelites had to leave behind everything they owned, leave their homes, all of their accumulated possessions, traveling light with only what they could carry on their backs, this night in Jerusalem would indeed be different from any other night in their tradition. For when Jesus spoke, everyone present would stop eating immediately for fear of choking. Further, his words would make anyone lose their appetite. Truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me, one of you who is eating with me now. One of you, one of my closest friends, will betray me. If there were other guests present, Mark's Jesus states clearly that his betrayer is among the 12. But that likely makes no difference. For all intents and purposes, the celebratory meal is over. It would have been next to impossible for anyone to really continue eating the feast in such an atmosphere of tension and distress. Jesus has dropped a bomb in the middle of the table, in the middle of the meal. In our homes, such an announcement would find people quickly excusing themselves from the table, knocking over chairs, and running out the door. But Jesus does not allow the meal to come to an end. The disciples are distressed. The disciples are anxious, wondering what to do, what to say, whether or not to try and continue eating for appearance's sake, as they look about at each other, trying to catch the tell that will reveal the villain among them. Instead of stopping the meal, Jesus takes a loaf of bread, signifying life and God's presence. And after blessing it, he breaks it, and he gives it to all of them, saying, "Take, this is my body." Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, gave it to them, to all of them, and all of them drank from it. Note that it is after the disciples drink from the cup that he says to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many." Mark's Jesus refers to the cup as symbolic of his own sacrifice. The wine in the cup symbolizes the blood of that Passover lamb, both old and new. The unblemished lamb sacrificed in Egypt 2,000 years before, and the unblemished lamb, Jesus, who will be sacrificed on this night. in Jerusalem. The cup symbolizes both the old covenant and the now new covenant with God. Jesus, as the first century representation of God's sacrificial Passover lamb, will once again save God's people. Today, we partake of the bread and the cup as John Wesley dubbed these simple elements our holy ordinances, our means of grace. Each and every time we partake of the elements, we recognize and renew our covenantal connection with God and with each other. The bread has become for us the bread of life, the symbol of Christ's presence with us. The cup is for us the cup of redemption and everlasting covenant with God. On this night of nights, Jesus offered these very covenant elements to the disciples who themselves were about to suffer the indignities of unbearable shame, shattered dreams, complete helplessness, crippling loss, and heart-rending grief. But at this table, with Jesus, not 1 minute was spent deciding who was worthy or unworthy to partake. Not 1 moment was wasted trying to flesh out the betrayer. All who were present, even the betrayer himself, received the precious gift of life, that bread of presence and that cup of salvation, to nourish their souls from that day onward and forevermore. Somehow, those messed up, gobsmacked disciples managed to pass on the gift to us, inviting us to experience the precious gift of life, presence, and salvation here and now. Let us give God thanks.